All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was all in good fun. Pop goes the weasel. Wow, I'm sure you heard that poem and song before, right? Well, it's a rhyme and a song from the 1800s from England. You know, it began as a dance song to which words were then added. And it came to America in the 1850s, and there it soon became known as the latest English and most popular dance. And the phrase, Pop Goes the Weasel, soon took hold. Now, this seems to be one of those rhymes in which the words change over time. Here's what was being said in Boston in 1858. All around the cobbler's house the monkey chased the people, and after them in double haste, pop goes the weasel. Laura Ingalls Wilder, remember her from Little House on the Prairie? Well, in the 1930s, she wrote her autobiography called Little House in the Big Woods, and she recalled that her father used to sing this. All around the cobbler's bench, the monkey chased the weasel. The preacher kissed the cobbler's wife. Pop goes the weasel. A penny for a spool of thread, another for a needle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Gotta excuse my singing. In 1901, in New York, the opening lines of the song were, all around the chicken coop, the possum chased the weasel. So see how those words changed over time? In the early 1900s, this version was used. All around the cobbler's bench, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey stopped to pull up his sock. Or the monkey stopped to scratch his nose. Or the monkey fell down, and oh, what a sound. Pop goes the weasel. Well, later, the U.S. lyrics replaced the cobbler's bench with a mulberry bush. And this is how many of us remember the song. All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was all in good fun. Pop goes the weasel. Now, if you go online, you watch YouTube videos, there's a number of versions and a number of verses. Some verses go like this. Jimmy's got the whooping cough and Timmy's got the measles. That's the way the story goes. Pop goes the weasel. So with all these different words, it's a little hard to understand what the original meaning was behind this poem. It's very difficult to say the least. And there are a variety of reasonings as to what this song was actually about. Well, the earliest English versions most likely had something to do with money and trading items for a money. Remember these lines? A penny for a spool of thread, another for a needle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Wow. These lines of that's the way the money goes suggests the practice of pawning one's coat in desperation to buy food and drink. You see, pop was a slang word for pawn, and weasel was a slang word for coat. Therefore, pop goes the weasel meant pawning a coat. A monkey on the house was also slang for a mortgage or a loan. So, this song in its early times could be referencing financial hardship or other forms of hardship which do not go away but just keep popping up. Pop goes the weasel. Well, we don't think of it that way because this is such a catchy tune which has even been made into a singing game similar to musical chairs. Maybe some of you have played that game for Pop Goes the Weasel. But you know what? Sometimes people can experience financial difficulties. Jesus watched a person one time who had financial difficulties. Do you remember this story? It's found in Mark chapter 12. Jesus sat down across from the place where people put their temple offerings. He watched the crowd putting their money into the offering boxes. Many rich people threw large amounts of money into these offering boxes. But a poor widow came and she put in 2 very small copper coins. They were worth only a few pennies. Jesus asked his disciples to come to him, and he said, listen, what I'm about to tell you is true. That poor widow has put more into the offering box than all the others who are rich. They all gave a lot because they are rich, but she gave even though she is poor. She put in everything she had, and that was all she had to live on. Jesus commended the poor widow for being faithful. It reminds me of another story in the Bible about a poor widow. It's found in 1 Kings chapter 17, and it's a story about Elijah and a widow who lived at a place called Zarephath. And here's how it goes. Sometime later, the brook or the stream dried up, and it hadn't rained in the land for quite a while. A message came to Elijah from the Lord. The Lord said, "Go right away to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food." So Elijah went to Zarephath. He came to the town's gate, and a widow was there gathering sticks, and he called out to her, and he asked, "Would you please bring me a little water in a jar? I need a drink." She went to get the water, and then he called out to her, "Can you please bring me a piece of bread as well?" "I don't have any bread," she replied, "and that's just as sure as the Lord your God is alive. All I have is a small amount of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home. I'm going to make one last meal for myself and my son. We'll eat it, and after that we may die because we don't have any more food." Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do what you have said, but first make a small loaf of bread for me. Make it out of what you have and bring it to me. Then make some for yourself and your son. Remember, the Lord is the God of Israel. He says the jar of flour will not be used up. The jug will always have oil in it. You will have flour and oil until the day the Lord sends rain onto the land." So she went away and did what Elijah had told her to do. So Elijah had food every day. And there was also food for the woman and her family. The jar of flour wasn't used up, and the jug always had oil in it. That's what the Lord had said would happen. He had spoken that message to the widow through Elijah. So the widow in the temple gave away her last means of self-support. Does that mean she left the temple completely destitute, went home, and died of starvation? No. The Bible teaches that God provides for our needs. Just as God provided for the widow and her son in Elijah's story, God also provided for the widow in Jesus' story. A penny for a spool of thread, another for a needle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Well, maybe when you hear that song, Pop Goes the Weasel now, you'll remember that it might have been talking about money. And when we think about money, we think that God provides for our needs. And I am so thankful that God gives us the money we need. He gives us the food we need so that we can help others and so that we can provide for ourselves. So, today, I wish you a good day. Maybe you'll see a weasel. I don't think so. You might hear "Pop Goes the Weasel" and think of what we've talked about today. But today, I wish that you also would be as thankful as I am for God providing for our needs. Have a great day, and have a day filled with peace.